Welcome to another Jerry's Live After Party. Yeah, you're welcome. We are your hosts. This is Amy Gardner-Dean, our resident artist, professional artist, art instructor, dog breeder, mother of dogs and kids.
Yeah.
And I'm Michael Goldstein, the beneficiary of nepotism. So today we're going to be looking at varnishing, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we are.
Well, let's talk about it.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I think the kind of the motto for this episode should be friends don't let friends not varnish.
Oh, okay.
Because really this is kind of where it comes down to the final protection for your work before it goes out into the world to be seen by everyone. And a nice uniform sheen is really the best way to display your work. Also the best way to protect it. You don't know where it's going to go, whether it's going to encounter dust or smoke or
Children.
grime or I mean, I was reading something the other day about somebody whose work had been in a house fire, and luckily the work had been saved. But then now, thankfully, they'd varnished it so they can remove all the smoke and the debris and damage from it and take that coat of varnish off. So it's something that's very important that a lot of people just either don't know how to do properly, or just kind of throw up their hands and say, it'll be fine, you know. Plus, this is kind of the point where, especially when you're doing oil painting varnish, you're going to see the biggest and kind of worst evaluation of your artwork and your painting practices, because the improper layering of paint and not painting with enough fat in the final layers can really mess with your final kind of image. So one of the things that we're going to talk about when we do the oil varnish is actually oiling the painting out to get it all up to a closer sheen, to then protect it if you do have to take that varnish off, so it doesn't eat down into your paint layers with the removal. So
Okay, cool.
So it's something that's very, very important. Something I feel very strongly about. So we're
Obviously, look, we're here.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. So I think first, just because this is going to get smellier the further we go, which I know yes, and you've been prepped with gloves as well, because it will get messier as well. First, we're going to talk about acrylic painting varnish.
Okay.
Now, there's multiple types, and anytime it says varnish, you just assume, okay, varnish, and that's safe for me to use, and to go from there. There's different types, because, why not add to the overall confusion for everyone. There's removable varnishes and non-removable varnishes in acrylic painting. And we actually had a customer call the other day who had a studio assistant varnish their work. They didn't realize they had touched it before it was completely dry. They were getting ready to send it in 2 days off to the final home for the buyer. There were fingerprints in it.
No.
So then what do you do for that? Well, they called because they didn't know what kind of varnish it was. Thankfully for them at that point, it was a varnish that is a medium and a varnish.
That way you can just fill in the gaps.
It's non-removable.
Right.
But the beauty of it is it's basically just like a layer of very clear, thin paint.
The way I always explained it was, if it's a non-removable varnish, really what it's doing is unifying the sheen.
Yes.
More than anything else.
Yes. It's very much like retouch varnish in oils for acrylics.
There are some non-removable varnishes that have UV blockers in them, but it's a little less common.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
but,
definitely. So the beauty of it was she was able to go back in, kind of just scumble the color on that was underneath, cover up that fingerprint, let it dry, put another coat on to kind of uniform it, and then it was fine to go out.
Okay.
So, but that's one of the things. If you're looking for true UV protection, if you're looking for long-term archival protection, this is really not the varnish for you. Now, some acrylic paints, especially if you paint super duper thick, they need that protection while they're continuing to dry. When we did the episode on acrylics, we researched on Goldensite. It can take way longer than 72 hours for some of the really thick acrylics to cure. So this is a good, kind of a temporary protection for your work. So that's just the medium and varnishes mixed. Almost every brand makes that.
Sure.
So where you're going to want to go from there, if you're wanting more archival protection that can be removed and added back on, is something like a polymer varnish with a UVLS.
Well, answer me this. Why do you want to take it off?
because, okay, with acrylics are a very soft medium compared to oils, which, you know, people think it's flexible, it's better, you know, the paste and stuff do dry harder. It's still incredibly soft. Oils have already a built-in protection with the medium itself, in that it's a drying oil that it hardens, that it's very tight and much more close-pored by comparison.
Right.
So the issue is with this being much softer, much more kind of larger open pores, there's so much more work that's going to absorb any issues that you're going to need to protect. So that's when you're going to be wanting to use a varnish that is something that can be removable, because you may need to go back and, you know, clean that up and you know, just to get some, because this is so soft and porous, dirt and stuff, it's going to protect it against that, but it inevitably over time can build up in certain situations. So you pulling that varnish off takes that dirt and grime off.
Okay.
Then you can just revarnish it brand spanking new, right?
Right.
So then there are varnishes like the ones that are a mineral spirit based, like the Liquitex Solivar, like Golden. They make an MSA varnish. They even make one that can be painted on. Now the beauty of these, that one is interior rated. These can actually be used if you're going to have your artwork shown outdoors, exhibited
your
in like a
painting?
closed area. No, because you wouldn't want to do that on.
Joking.
Yeah.
Come on, stick with the point.
So these give like additional protection. They come off with mineral spirits. It's very easy to. These come off usually with most of them. You have to use, I think, ammonia to remove them. So this is something that's very easy to remove, and all that. Plus these give great sheen to it. I mean, it's just Katie and I love this stuff. I think this has really virtually been almost everything that we need something to be nice and shiny and pretty for the episode. So now the issue, however, is unlike oil paints, you can't just take your acrylic painting, add the varnish immediately on, and then it's done and go from there. You actually have to do an isolation coat with acrylic paints.
What?
Yes. Because the issue is it's a softer medium, right? So if you're removing the varnish, you can very quickly start to remove your paint.
Oh, that's not good.
No. So you need to do an isolation layer on it. So what you're going to do if you're wanting to varnish with any of these ones that aren't just your medium, you know, and varnish combination, a soft gel.
So something, even though these are labeled as medium in varnish, you want something with slightly more body? Is that what you're going to soft gel?
Yes, slightly more body. It's going to offer a little bit thicker
So this viscosity
protection.
is, I mean, I'm sure if I held it like this for about an hour, it would slowly pour out.
Right.
This is fluid like skim milk or heavy
Well,
cream,
okay,
actually.
but now we're not doing this straight. This is 2 parts of this, 1 part water.
Forget what I just said.
I mean, you could
Yeah.
theoretically, but then it's really thick, and that could potentially
but
alter your
doesn't
image.
adding water to it alter paint film?
It does some, but it's so much thicker. It's gonna, you know, kind of
The polymer will spread.
right, exactly.
'Cause I just
It's
did a
making it
video-
thinner like this, but not so thin that it's, you
Right.
know, like milk.
I just did a
essentially.
video telling people use water to clean up only, nothing else, and now you've showed me.
Proved
me wrong. Is that spit? I don't know. Okay.
You dumped we'll pretend it's the sheen, the
Okay.
varnish.
Okay.
So essentially, that's what you're going to need to do with an acrylic painting. So what we're going to do,
Hello, Tiny.
all right, we're going to make your.
Dreams come true.
Is this like a Disney thing with you? It's always a Disney thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Ever since they
Should've
bought
known.
Star Wars. Absolutely.
Oh, then it's definitely, yeah. It's definitely, I'm going to get rid of some of this water. We don't need all that.
So there's something. Maybe somebody dipped a.
Dip
All
the
right.
chip,
If
double dip the
you
chip.
see a little bluish tint, it was
Yeah.
not intentional.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll work around that.
Did you not get a palette right?
No, I just realized that I didn't have it. We can just grab a brush.
But we're live.
Well, yeah. It works.
Okay.
Okay. We don't need a lot because this is a very small artwork, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said 2 to 1?
Mm-hmm.
So mostly
So
it's
I'm gonna
medium.
pour just a touch off.
And does it matter? I mean, this is a semi-gloss, and I know this will come in matte or gloss. Because this isn't our final layer, the sheen probably really doesn't matter.
No, you want it to be gloss. That was what we had. So for the benefit of, yeah, it needs to be just their soft gel in a gloss.
Even if you want a final varnish to be matte?
You want to do that with the varnish, the final varnish itself.
Okay.
Because any time that you're using a matte varnish, you still want to put a gloss finish. Even with these, you want to put a gloss finish on them first. Because what that does is it brings all the colors up to the same sheen overall. Mm-hmm. Because if some of it's like this is pretty shiny because it was done with metallics. They've got a lot of resin in it. Mm-hmm. But not all acrylics have that. It's kind of per color with the brand. So you need to bring them all up to the same sheen, so it gets kind of your nice darks, deep darks with the gloss. Anytime you use satin and matte, it makes your darks actually lighter than what they were painted. So you want it to be all brought up to a very deep sheen before you then add your varnishes with your matting agent. Okay, so you're gonna put this on.
Just slop it on?
Just, try to paint kind of as neatly as
a schlopper can.
Yeah. That's good. I see you're going over the kind of the line you've already got, just slightly, which is what you want to do. You want to overlap it.
I'm applying what I call my vacuuming skills.
It's very similar, yes. Only unlike vacuuming, you don't need to go back and go the other way.
Yeah, that's true, but I do it anyway because I'm OCD.
Yeah. Okay. Don't with acrylics. You only want to brush. It's still pretty wet because we just have made that, but you only want to do. The more that you brush, the more kind of air you're adding in.
Right.
So you want to do just one coat. There you go. It's like you've done this before.
This ain't my first rodeo. All right, isolation coat complete.
So with this, what we're gonna do is it would dry for a full day. If this is gonna be your one coat, you want this to dry a full day. Now you can do multiple ones. If you think it's a little too thin or you want to err on the side of caution, make it just slightly thinner for brushability. If you know you tend to be more heavy-handed, but then put more coats on. And just like anytime you varnish, one way this time, the other way the next time. Okay, you can do multiple coats, 3 to 6 hours in between those. Just make sure they're not tacky before you do the next one. But before you do a final varnish, it needs to be a full 24 hours.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how an isolation coat works.
So we'll come back tomorrow for that one.
Yeah, we're using it as a learning tool.
Or this video will be 24 hours.
It might be. You never know what you signed up for when you're working with me.
That's right.
Okay, so that's that. All right, now that part is the very critical part because, like I said, making sure that sheen's right. What's going to happen with matte? It'll look like Frosty the Snowman.
Oh.
If you avoid that or use a matting agent in your gloss. So just reminder again, as caution.
Public service announcement.
You never can. Matt's bad. It's a 5-letter word, but it equates to a 3-letter word. Bad.
Wow, look at that.
I know. It's like weird art math, right?
Art.
Okay, so now a polymer varnish. It is a harder film than most acrylic paints straight out of the tube when you're painting, okay? That offers the diminished, it makes it so the ability for dirt or smoke or anything to harm your work is going to be very diminished because it's being harder, it's got a tighter seal, it's going to offer better protection.
Okay.
I really like a satin in a polymer varnish. It gives a nice, we're going to actually varnish this piece with this.
Okay. Now, I know that these are considered flexible. Is this considered flexible?
It's still flexible.
Because it's still polymer based.
Right.
But once we start going
with these are actually, with the spray, it's flexible. They make an MSA varnish that you paint on that's harder. So like if you were doing something outdoors or doing murals like on concrete or on a wall or something where a harder varnish is a great option, then you would use that with the MSA that you'd actually paint on. The sprays, however, are flexible because they're thinner coats.
Okay. So,
Okay.
but do we need an isolation layer?
No, because this actually already has one coat, so we could see the
So it's
uniform
already
sheen
been
to it.
isolated.
Yes, it's already had the isolation coat. It's already got one coat, and you can see that it's a nice satin sheen to it. But I just one coat was done, and it so it could be shown, and it really needs another coat. I know. Illumicomp. The beauty of Illumicomp. 2 surfaces in one, right?
Yeah, because that's how you can see things
Yeah.
on the wall.
All right.
You have to like hang it off the wall with a mirror, and then.
Okay. Now with the polymer varnish, unlike these, this always has to be diluted some with water as well.
Okay.
So even though these jars are little and people think that it seems somewhat expensive, you're diluting it. This goes a long way. I've
Like
had
a
jars of
watercolor
it,
tube
yes,
instead of
go
acrylic.
for a long way. Now, word to the wise, with any varnish, you want it to be used within a year to 2 of obtaining the varnish. Okay.
Okay.
Varnishes can age, especially the oil varnishes. So the longer it sits, it's just not, it's been exposed to light and stuff through glass jars. Just always good to have fresh. So you don't have to buy the big giant things unless you're varnishing huge paintings. Little ones are fine. It's better to buy smaller and use it. Okay. So with this, we are doing 4 parts of varnish to 1 part of water for brushing.
Okay.
Do you want to try to
Do the parts.
or would you rather
Well, sure, I'll do the first part. This is going to be the 4 parts, and then you can do the 1 part.
Okay.
My job is done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Now we got a.
Yeah, we're going to
Marley it.
use actually we'll use this brush. This is a really soft synthetic
Woo!
that Raphael makes that's kind of specifically for varnishing.
That's really nice.
It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like a synthetic, does it?
No, it
actually
doesn't.
feels much more like a
Acrylic.
yeah. All right, so we're gonna I always mix it up with the brush because I'd rather have it.
I'm going to prepare.
Now this is with varnishing, you don't want your whole brush dunked in and it going up into the ferrule.
Yeah, because you can get clunks.
Yep.
Clunks? Chunks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it might clunk
It might clunk.
if you leave it in there to dry.
It might dunk.
Now,
But don't be drunk.
with this type of varnish, anytime you're brushing on acrylic, because acrylic is more viscous than oil, you're going to want to not try to agitate it a lot and get a lot of air in it, because you don't want to get air bubbles in.
Right. Just like an IV.
Yeah, that's probably a little more important. A pulmonary embolism is really a lot more serious.
So
than,
I'm going to go north to south.
actually, with this, let's do it this. Yeah,
It's still going to be
this
north
way
to
because,
south, but now
right.
tilted.
Yes, because I'm pretty sure now with varnishing with a brush, you're going to want to do it at an angle. You're kind of laying it on.
Wow, look
Perfect.
how much that pops.
Yeah. Yep, and we're not going to go back over any of the strokes that you did if you need to pick up more varnish.
I don't think I will.
But see how nice that little brush does? Oh,
No.
go ahead and just hit it one more time. Okay. All right. Now see, with this is actually good that you did that.
Yeah, I did it on purpose.
Yes. All right. See how there is this slight area that got missed? Rather than brushing back over that, because
Wait for it
that
to
can
dry.
capture air. Yes, wait for it to. It's okay. You can always do more coats. What you do is just let that dry.
I actually missed
then
a couple spots.
yeah. Well, it dries actually pretty quick. This polymer varnish. I mean,
see.
you can see that it's starting to. So I would just wait and then go back. See, this is already starting to dry because it's a nice thin.
Okay.
It's a nice thin coat. So I would just wait and do another coat this way. Now, since it's already had one coat of varnish and it was very even, to me, it's already protected. It was just kind of for show for this, and I wanted another coat on it.
Okay.
So, but see that gives a really nice. It's nice and warm. It's not too shiny. It's a really nice, durable varnish. I've
Durable
never had
varnish.
any problems with it. I've got paintings that I've had for 20 years because it was when Riker was first born that look brand new from the varnish. So they don't yellow because it's a nice polymer.
Polymer based.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right,
No
so I'm going to
organic
slide
ingredient.
that under here. Now with these, since it's acrylic base, you really want to try to get the, here, just kind of swish that around. We'll leave that. You look good doing that.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
a professional swisher
You
arounder.
are. You are. All right. So we will come back to the MSA spray varnishes at the end, even though they're, the beauty of these, and that's the other reason Katie and I love them, oil, acrylics, alkyds.
The full gambit.
You can even put these, we've used it to go over watercolors before. They will go over anything. Okay. Now removal, obviously, for a watercolor, once that's on there, it's sealed and it's done. You're not going to be removing that. But if you're leaving your watercolor out to be in the elements anyway and not putting it framed behind glass, this is better protection than nothing. So it's kind of that's a trade-off. But these we will do at the end because they obviously with the mineral spirits and they get in the air, it's going to be a little stinky for a short while, but easy to do, great because you can do them on anything. If you work in acrylics and you work in oils and multiple mediums, this is kind of dummy proof because A, it's a spray, it's hard to overspray with a spray.
Challenge
Overbrush,
accepted.
yeah. But you don't have to be like, okay, well, I need an oil varnish, I need an acrylic varnish, I need this, I need that. Limited down to one thing, all right? So
All right.
we will come back to that when we do that in just a few minutes. Now, speaking of a dummy-proof varnish,
Okay. I'll be the judge.
we're going to look at Gamvar.
Gamvar.
Gamvar is a
Gamvar.
product that's made by Gamblin. They developed it with the National Portrait Society,
I see
or
what they
National
did there.
Portrait.
You see that? If I block the blend.
It's through the Smithsonian, so
Yeah.
you know it's good, right?
yeah.
Yeah, what are you blocking brand
Yeah,
name with your
so
finger?
a Gambar is because Gamblin is the.
Yes,
okay, I think
yes,
you got
it's
it. All right,
it's
moving on.
Gamblin. But the video on their website, and this is the thing, anytime you want to varnish something and you're not sure how to do it, don't wing it.
Don't wing it.
It's your painting. It's the life of your painting.
And there is so much information out there.
The Googles pull up anything.
Of course, it all contradicts itself.
Well,
but-
that's true. Well, that's why with a manufacturer you look at their website, right? Because they're going to be kind of the ultimate end all do all voice of reason for this. Their video on this was amazing, and I was like, that's just the most dummy proof. There's no reason to varnish with damar after you see this because it gives you the ability to varnish with a beautiful crystal clear varnish that doesn't, damar tends to tack up very quickly.
And it won't yellow over time.
Yes, it yellows over time. It's much easier to get off. So before you go to that, we need to look at the artwork. Okay,
Okay.
this is where painting practice
Okay.
comes into play, and we're going to show a couple paintings. Now, this painting was done. I traded paintings with one of my professors. I've got a couple of them. He was known for painting very thin with a lot of mineral spirits,
Very lean,
very lean. Okay.
which is why it probably looks dull.
It looks very dull. You can tell dust has been picked up over time, and it can't come off. I mean, I could wash and scrub it, but it's going to pick stuff up. So this is a painting. This is where proper painting practices come into play. This is very difficult to see that. Okay. Now, to me, these are at a point of where oiling it out might work.
Okay.
Oiling it out might not work. I'm really concerned about this one.
No, I was
and
concerned
how
going into
washy
it.
and thin that is, because I think that if when we oil this out, we're going to be using half Galkid and half Gamsol, so it's mineral spirits with an alkyd resin. It's going to potentially bite in a little bit. It might pick this up. I don't think this is well enough protected. So with these two paintings, in evaluating them, I'm going to say it's better to protect them than not protect them, and not do that barrier coat kind of, so that I don't think I would be able to remove a varnish off of these easily. I would rather not lose the works to potentially oiling them out and something bad happening And when we do the spray varnish, we'll do it on these too. Okay. But we needed to look at that first to really see if it looks really matte, it looks really dusty, it looks really, that's not, you can see how much shinier this is. He's painted, more impasto with maybe a little bit of oil, especially in the shadow.
It's hard to believe that's considered impasto.
Well, for him,
For
yeah.
him, yeah.
For him, this is like Van Gogh, man.
Oh, he's...
So, so we'll come back to this one when we go to do the spray varnish. So that was just for how to evaluate the work. Now, this is the one that we're going to oil out.
Oh, puppy.
And then this is the one that we're going to use the Gamblin on in a minute.
Oh, Amy.
So this is my studio dog when I was in college. This is in the art building. He was laying there sleeping. Did just a little 40-minute quick painting of him. You can see that that's pretty matte.
Matte, yeah.
Now, that's not really from the addition of too many mineral spirits. It's from student grade paint. I know there were like 4 colors that I had the professional grade in. These are not any of those
These
4.
are not any of them.
So, although probably I could put the Gamblin on, that would be fine. I would really rather see the colors brighten up, because then when the Gamblin goes on, it gives it a little bit of, and then I can take it off if I want, because it's a sentimental, it's not a great piece by any means, but it's a sentimental picture of the dog. So we're going to get our... This is not a Molotov cocktail. I broke the lid.
Oh, so we won't be throwing that at the neighbors.
No. So, all right. We're going to make more than we need.
How much water do we add to this?
We don't have any water to this.
I know, it's a joke. You don't add water to the oil. Come on.
All right. So that's our Galkid, okay, which is a painting medium, right?
It has
It's
an odor.
Galkid/Alkyd, right?
Alkyd.
All right, and then Gamsol, which is their version of the odorless mineral spirits. I mean, and if you are one of those people that's really worried,
Not me.
You can measure.
Steady as a rock.
You can measure things. I don't really like to measure things. All right, so we're going to use this brush to mix this. And then I'm going to have you paint it on, and when you paint it on, you're going to paint it on heavy.
You want me to go?
We're not painting for cut. We're painting for maximum soakability with this.
Soakability.
Okay? We want it to be just saturated. It's going to sit for a few minutes.
So, I mean, could I potentially just pour some on and brush it if I was so?
I mean, you
devil may
could,
care?
because we're going to buff the excess off with a rag.
Oh.
But, I mean, you might as well paint it just because, what if you pour it all on one side and it starts running off and,
Well, I get more because it's me.
Well, it's not like you can buy it by the 55-gallon drum, right?
You used to see how I buy paint.
Yeah. All right, that feels like it's mixed pretty well.
All right, so now we're going to apply it, but still going in.
No, you can just, there's no rules to
So
this.
just go crazy.
Yeah, and thick. That's thin,
Thick.
so you can really go thick. Yes, and yeah.
I need a spoon.
A spoon. Now see how quick the color
Pops.
Mm-hmm.
It smells lovely.
I like that smell.
No, I do too. It wasn't sarcasm. It reminds me of my youth.
Yeah, go ahead and put more on.
Yeah,
because it's going to soak.
It's not thick enough.
That's right. Now it looks like my dog again. A little bit in the corner.
All right, perfection.
And no, just kind of with anytime you varnish, kind of get down and move around and look and see, because you might see areas.
No, I get it. I do this when I make grilled cheese.
Do you lift it up a little bit?
Yeah, you got to make sure it's the proper amount of golden brown. It's a good analogy.
No, it is.
Thank you, Katie.
What's the best cheese for grilled cheese?
American.
Okay. All right. So we're going to let this sit for a minute or two. While we're letting that set before we buff it off, we're going to talk about this. Now, the beauty of Gamsol, kind of the additional dummy-proofedness that exists out there, is that you can paint as soon as it's dry to the touch, and your thickest area, pushing in with your thumb doesn't release,
Okay.
like doesn't dent,
stays,
right?
Yeah.
So this painting was done maybe 4 months ago. So it probably could have been done even a month sooner. This is ready to go with Gamsol. Final varnish. No need to wait the 9 months, the 12 months, the sometimes literally up to 2 years. If you're painting super thick like Van Gogh and Pasto, you might need a full 2 years with an oil painting before it's safe to varnish, because otherwise what do? You seal it in with a thick, something like the damar, something like any type of varnish, and it still has moisture in it. It's still off-gassing. What's going to happen?
It's going to what?
It could potentially crack.
Oh yeah, of course.
So it might be harder to see on the varnished coat unless it's super duper thick, but it could potentially give you cracks, or over time really start to show up as kind of the varnish is lifting and drying. So that's the beauty of that, is that actually can be done really soon compared
Really
to.
soon.
So I mean, because you figure, okay, you're an artist, you're painting for shows, you're doing this, you're doing that. You might not have a month for something to sit around your studio waiting, and retouch varnish you can put on as soon as it's dry to the touch. It gives it some kind of uniform sheen, but that's not protection. That starts to kind of fade and disappear over time. So this is a fantastic product. Okay. So that's probably been, see how it's really soaking in some places and not in others? Those were higher areas.
Do I need to apply more?
You can just kind of slide it back over onto just that one side, and then we'll start actually removing the varnish, or our oiling out. All right. So with this, you're just going to take a soft rag, and you've got your glove on, and you're going to just kind of lightly buff it off. Kind of start in one corner and then work your way. You're just kind of almost like rubbing it in. They used to do this, and some people still do it with just linseed oil, but to me that's a drying oil.
Right.
And then they say, we'll wait so much time for that. To me, that's not enough time. You just put a drying oil on that's your highest level of fat, that should take longer, and then you're expecting to varnish right over that and not potentially have issues. Where this is an alkyd resin, so it's a synthetic, right? And it's a mineral spirit, which is the Gamsol. So it's going to be ready a lot sooner to actually be able to do this. They say wipe off the excess, and then 2 to 3 days you can varnish.
So we can't varnish this today?
No, we won't varnish that today, but we're using it as an example of what you may have to do to actually get it all up to sheen. Now, if I look at this in 2 to 3 days and it's like there's still some really sunken in areas, I can go back
And do it again.
do this again. Yes.
How did I do?
Looks pretty good. Looks like great.
Oh,
Do the
yeah.
grilled cheese thing. There you go now, see?
Okay.
Okay. All right. But now see how much brighter that is in
Yeah.
color? I mean, it's a huge difference. Huge, huge difference. So, yeah, just sticking that there is fine. No. All right. So now this, we're actually going to put the Gamvar on it. Okay. With this, we've checked, made sure it's dry with the thumb coat. 1 to 2 coats, super thin.
Super
okay.
thin.
We're going to do 1 coat for now. Just, you wait till that's dry, you do another coat. 18 to 24 hours tack-free drying after you're completely done.
Okay.
Okay. So this is, I'm actually going to show this because I watched the video and it's really weird and doesn't make sense.
Okay. So I should bleed this here?
Yeah, or we can switch places or whatever. Now, I think I'm going to use the gloss just because this is somewhat drier. I didn't think this was sunken in enough. I think that the gloss is going to bring it up kind of midway. If you use the satin or the matte, you really want to shake them up to get the dispersion, which usually they say don't shake varnishes, but they actually say shake the varnishes to do this. So
That varnish ready.
as far as I'm concerned, they're the
Outliers.
well, no, they're the if they say it, then that's what you do. All right. Yeah, too small. I actually can't get it. My thumbnail's not strong enough.
All right, hold on. I'm gloved. Katie. Oh, mazel tov.
Oh, you did it. All right. You huffing Gamblin now?
It's smelling my
Okay.
Let me just wipe that off.
Oh. All right. So see how crystal clear that is?
It's crystal
it's
clear.
very, very.
If it was any clearer, it would be Pepsi.
All right. So I'm gonna probably get a little bit more.
Yeah.
Only put out what you think you're gonna use. With this, you can always add on it because it doesn't tack up as fast as a traditional varnish does. All right. So we're gonna pull this under here just so we don't.
No overlap.
Yeah. All right. Now they say with this to actually use a stiffer bristle, like hog bristle brush, which goes against everything that they tell you about varnishing.
Right, because it sounds like that would maintain a lot of brush strokes and.
Yeah, it does. It does sound like it. And you know what? This is much thinner than I thought.
There you go.
All right.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. This is how they honestly say to apply it.
And you won't let me do that?
It looked fun and I wanted to do it.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, what they say is don't, like, I'm adding, wait, this would have been helpful.
But I'm seeing so many air bubbles.
It's okay.
It's
They'll-
okay?
They'll dry.
You telling me to chillax?
Yes, I am.
Frankie say relax.
That was a good song.
Mm-hmm.
I used to play that at my high school dances. That's how old I am.
They still played it at mine.
Did they?
Yeah, it's hip.
Now, because this dries so much slower, it's okay to kind of work over it. Notice I'm taking the excess over here.
And look at how that sheen just.
And they say to really work it in because it gets it into all those little kind of air, little holes and bubbles and things like that.
Holy bubbles.
Yeah, see how those bubbles really, they go right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's some excess over there. I act like I'm gonna like wing this off at you.
No, I'm just trying to look at the sheen, different angles, and stay out of your spray zone.
Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of. And they say, if you have a lot of excess, wipe it on a rag. Better to do like several extra thin coats than
apply too thickly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen with that is when you go to remove it, it comes off really easy, just with mineral spirits with the Gamsol, and then you're good to go. All right, how's it look from your grilled cheese angle? Grilled cheese angle is going to be a thing.
Is it?
Yeah, why
Put
not?
on a t-shirt and I'll wear it.
All right.
The grilled cheese runs strong in my family.
Yeah. All right. So there's a little bit left, but look and see how that really altered the sheen hugely.
Bigly.
All right. I'm just pouring the excess right back in there.
Cool.
How easy is that?
It was so easy.
But I mean,
Especially because you didn't let me do it.
you got to try oiling the thing out.
I did get to oil my
You
thing
did.
out.
You can make anything sound so wrong. All right. Okay, so we've got that. Brush should just be, this is the hilarious thing. You'd want to go run your brush to turpentine, just something to clean it out, right? You know what they say to do?
What? To Bob Ross it? No, to just leave it. Why is that?
You leave it in a clean, dry place.
Uh-huh.
Use it again. It instantly varnishes it, just like activates
Okay.
what's in there to the exact same consistency as what's in here.
Mm-hmm.
as long as you've kept it and where it's not dusty and dirty and all gross. And
So it like
you
re-wets.
you don't even have to clean the freaking brush, man.
That's awesome. Anything that prevents me from having to clean something.
Yeah, well, yeah. So completely dummy proof. So that is this. Now, note to self, when you're varnishing, you just don't want this to be sitting around like...
Yeah, you want to
like
protect it
this.
from the elements.
Right. A lot of people, it's smelly, I should take this outside.
No.
What's outside?
The world.
Wind,
Wind,
dust,
bugs,
leaves, yes. Oh,
dogs,
bugs. And if you
leprechauns.
think even on a covered porch that's like not on the side of a house with wind, I have gone out before, found like a ladybug land and made it about halfway up, and then they're like, skip, make it
Keep
further. Yeah, try picking that out of
Yeah.
a traditional varnish. So
gonna do it.
although it's, ventilate the area where it's not going to have like airflow with wind going through. Have this so that you can put a couple pieces, bricks or something that bring something up just slightly higher than the level of your painting, and put a dry clean board over it. I mean, you could just get just a masonite panel or something that you have that protects your stuff when it's drying. So it's got enough airflow where it can come up under it, but where any dust that comes out of your ventilation system in your house or that's just there that we don't realize is not being deposited on this. For acrylics, for this, for that. Obviously, spray varnish, you've got a little bit shorter window. You don't have to worry about that as much. And we are bad. We do go varnish outside, don't we, Katie? Because we don't have a choice. We don't want to kill people here. But at home, you've got the ability to protect your work. So already have that planned out before
ahead of time.
you. Yes.
Good safety tips.
Yes. All right. So there's that. Okay. So now we're going to go to the traditional
Damar style.
varnish. Yes. Do you want to?
Whatever you let me
to hazard
do. I
this?
mean,
I'm
here.
totally cool with you doing it. We're going to do.
With this one, of course you are.
Well, no, I actually really like this one. It's been around my studio for a long time.
I mean, thank you.
I'm taking it home and putting it in a frame. So, but I think it'll show really, because it's so many colors, it'll really show the deepness of the different.
This looks like oil pastel, but
It's oil bar, like oil stick,
bar,
the
yeah.
Arnough oil sticks. So, all right. So we are going to be using a tiny itty bitty bottle of the Chelsea,
you don't want to use
which
the
is the
big
lavender one. No, because it looks pretty. This is little.
one? Okay.
It's harder to see on.
I usually protect the little ones, but
Well,
you
all
drain
right.
them.
So we're using this
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know about you, but this is a closed-in space in the studio. If we were using something with turpentine, remember when we made the oil medium with the turpentine
Yes.
in the closed space in our first filming studio for Facebook Live, and everybody was almost dying?
Yep.
Yeah, the turpentine was just absolutely horrible. So we're going to use the Chelsea because it's got the spike lavender as the solvent in it instead of turpentine. So at least it's going to be pleasant. It may be strong with the lavender smell, but it's not going to be where it's hurting people. I mean, because
There
that
are
stuff
no
does.
known carcinogens in it.
Yes, which is a big deal.
It's a BFD.
All right. So, and I really think that, I mean, the spike lavender is just as strong of a solvent as turpentine. In having used both in my painting over the years before I developed lung problems, should have stuck with the lavender. I think it doesn't tack up quite as much. There's a longer open time
Okay.
on spike lavender when you're using it as a painting medium versus turpentine. So that can only be an even better thing with varnish, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah,
it's not going to start tacking up as long. So if I was going to use the traditional varnish, this would be the one that I would use. So actually I'm going to put more in because the brush we're going to use is going to be very absorbent. And because we're not killing ourselves with the scent.
Right. It doesn't matter that we have.
Right. Okay, now this, you
Ooh.
thought that other varnish brush was soft.
Oh, that's
That is
pretty.
natural hair.
Soft and mighty.
It is, but it's something a lot of people do that they don't think about. They get these little thin brushes for varnishing. That is going to hold a lot of fluid. It's going to release it very evenly. It's more almost like a watercolor mop,
It is.
just in in a flat. So we're going to use that to do it. When you do this, you're going to want to, just like we did with the acrylic, take it and kind of put it at that angle and pull it across and do that slight overlap. And don't rebrush over it. Better to do an extra coat. There you go. Look at the color.
Okay, now I see why you want to save this painting.
Yeah, okay. Now with this, you may have to do like, because just and kind of wipe the excess. Yeah, there you go. See, that red is just.
You didn't know it was that red under there.
Mm-hmm. Wait till you get to the violet, should pop. Yep.
Yep.
So see, it shows well. There was a purpose behind this, not like, I'm not letting Mike varnish I can always take the varnish off and redo it. I am going to say, since this is a longer open time with this, you can go ahead and hit that one spot that you missed. Just kind of get excess off. There you go. There you go.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
All right. Now see just the vibrancy that you get out of that. And this isn't bothering me at all. We've got a very large bowl that's in. I mean, you. Other than you don't want the damar, probably. Yeah, it's not going to.
He's like, if it's so safe for me to drink it, he's like, don't drink it. Don't drink it.
So now this could be cleaned. I mean, obviously, if you're using this, you've got the sense of you don't want to use turpentines. The spike lavender essence or the brush cleaner will clean this out.
You've already got the sense
of the brush.
Of lavender.
Yes. Well, and that's not this other. I mean, is there one that's just the traditional? No, because I wanted that.
Right.
So we didn't open the wrong thing. The difference would be huge.
Bigly.
Yes. All right. So that is our traditional oil varnish, but with that spike lavender. Now, something you can do if you have an oil painting, you want a matte finish, you don't want to deal with the varnish, you don't want the mineral spirits, you don't want all that. You want a nice matte finish, but with kind of a luster. Mm-hmm. We're not going to do this because I just don't really. I mean, do you want to try it?
I mean, do you have something for us to do it on?
We could if. I'd be willing to try it on this.
Okay. Well, yeah, your professor's work.
Well, no. Well, I want to keep this though. I really love this work. All right. So cold wax medium is a little bit of solvent with wax.
Okay.
Right. And what this is going to do, and the reason I'm going to decided this paint would be fine for it, it's already pretty matte.
Right.
So doing a sheen is probably going to bring the color up, but it's not going to be what this painting originally has been. So you can take the cold wax medium. If you've ever used floor wax,
I have not.
Or done sculpture,
This
is how you use a paste wax for like stone sculpture to buff it up and get a nice shine to it. I'm just going to put this on. Sorry.
Come on, Amy.
You see, this is the reason that I'm using this on it. It's because it wouldn't lift. It's soft enough where it shouldn't lift anything. It's got a little solvent, but because it's in wax, it shouldn't affect it
As much.
moving and picking stuff up. And it's a little painting, so it'll be pretty quick to. Now see how much brighter that color got though, even though it is wax, it's not quite as flat. And the outline of this really kind of started coming together. So although this isn't a traditional varnish, the wax will offer some protection, right?
Doesn't feel cold.
It's because you're not heating it like in caustics.
Mm.
Okay, so see how that layer is on there?
Yep.
All right. Then we're just going to come back.
Do a slight buff again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are we done with this, or do we wait and apply another layer in a few days? Or?
You could, but consider that let it dry. Consider the more you add, the more matte it's going to be.
Kind of cloud up a little.
Yes.
Sort of like, would it be similar to say like blooming with colored pencils?
Yes, it sure could be, definitely.
See. I know some things.
Definitely, because you can add it to oil paints in certain percentages. The more obviously you add, the more matte it's going to become. All right. See how that's got some sheen to it.
Mm-hmm. Not compared to that, but
No. Well, once this is really fully dry, though, then I can go back and buff it, and it should. I mean, that looks very different than it did.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like that. That's very nice. It brought the color up, but without damaging the painting. So that's an alternative if you want something matte. Now, over time, it's just like any other wax. You have to go back and buff it. So that's
right.
the other thing. But as far as, and probably dust would stick to it slightly more,
Yes.
but better than no protection at all. All right. Now, when we just did this,
Mm-hmm. I don't know how I'm gonna move that.
we're gonna leave that there
It's
for a little
soupy.
while. Well, we're gonna look at a painting where I varnished it and somebody moved it.
Oh no.
I noticed it after it was in a frame going to a show and was just like, not gonna give it to them. They said go ahead. They didn't see it. No,
Is this the one?
Just me. Yes.
Okay, so this is the warning. This painting does depict nudity, me. So if that's something that you don't want to see, this is where we say adieu.
Yeah, it's tasteful nudity, but it's still nudity in art.
It's not graphic.
No.
I'm very attractive, so.
All right, so we're gonna put this up here and we're gonna see what we're talking about. If Will can zoom in on this right here.
It looks like it's crying from the shoulders.
Okay, so this is damar varnish, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the Chelsea. It's just a traditional one that we had here. Was just sewing it outside here, so that even though I say don't do that,
You don't practice.
didn't well, it needed to be done here. I needed to watch it. I don't have a really safe place at home with dogs to varnish where there's not hair everywhere.
Right.
So I generally keep tweezers next to where I paint because I'm always
Pick 'em out.
picking hair out. It was fine. It was on a level spot. Somebody apparently was very interested in it, walked around the building, had picked it up and looked at it.
Oh, Greg.
This is where we'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
There's enough Gregs here.
Yeah.
It's not pointing an individual Greg
No.
finger, right? But that ran down because it yellows over time. It wasn't apparent immediately. This was like 3 months later. I, had framed it and took it to. Was like, what? Oh my. Yeah.
It actually looks like it was intentional.
Well, and that's what the gallery said, and it won best in show.
You're drippy painting. Suckers.
So, which I found highly entertaining because I actually really hate the piece, but it was just like that is why you don't leave stuff unattended. You don't not cover it.
Right.
You don't do it in an area where nobody's going to come up and touch it because that happens. Now the beauty of it is I can go back and take that off.
Because it's, yeah.
Just take white spirit or turpentine, or I actually think I might try the Chelsea just to try to remove it and just do it very carefully and very slow. But that's varnishing incident 402, Don't leave your stuff out. All right. So I think we have kind of come full circle. We are ready now to talk about the spray varnishes.
Alrighty.
Okay, so why don't we cut so we can move this stuff up, and then we'll be able to have more room to spray without getting stuff everywhere.
You heard her. We're cutting. We'll be right back. Okay, so we've shook that for a few hours.
Yes, with the sprays. Now they do these in brush on as well, but with the sprays you want to shake them for at least 2 minutes. And I know that seems like it doesn't seem that long until you start shaking it, and then it takes a while. Set a timer on your cell phone.
Set a timer on your cell phone.
Yes, because you want it to be a full 2 minutes. When you stop, if when it runs for more than 2 minutes, you want to stop, shake it for another minute, because you don't want that to start settling. Especially, it's not as big of a deal with the gloss, but with the satin or the matte, because it's got those matting
Yep.
agents in it, it needs to be shook up a lot more, okay?
Okay.
So with this well-ventilated area, obviously, which
Yeah. Don't do
not
it.
here, that's
We're
why
in
we're
a
doing it
bunker
last.
4 stories down. Yeah, it's what you don't know.
Yeah. Ideally, it needs to be 65 to 75 degrees.
Well, I think we're about there.
Yeah, I mean, we're fine, but that's
Yeah.
that's a hard,
Is it
place
hard in
to find.
2018 to find
Well,
room
for a
temperature?
well-ventilated area,
Oh,
though.
that's true.
I mean, because this
That's
is going to
true.
linger in the house if you
My
if you
wife's
do
from
it.
Southern
So,
California, so
oh, okay,
all
okay.
easy for her.
All right. Well, we do this 9 to 12 inches from the surface.
How am I supposed to measure?
Okay.
So like what, like that?
No, I think. Okay, this is about a foot, so there you
Okay.
go. It's a little less than a foot.
Oh.
It's probably about 10, 11 inches, so that's your
Okay.
go-to. Wow. All right.
Wishful thinking.
So yeah. Anywho, all right. So you want to allow about 15 to 20 minutes in between coats.
Okay.
All right. Now, when I'm going to be doing the panel that I've got that was my professor's work. You're actually going to be doing watercolor paper mounted on a panel.
So watercolor varnishing.
We're varnishing watercolor now.
That's what I said, but backwards.
Yeah, the jury is still kind of out on how archival this really is, because
Right.
the issue is you've got a porous surface with the watercolor paper that suddenly you're trying to protect, that's soft, that's going to attract dirt and dust and things like that. What you need to do first is hit it with a workable fixative. When we did this, I did 2 or 3 light coats of workable fixative. Then with this, you can just endless coats of this, just wait your time in between. I did several coats a day and did it for multiple days. So it's got still not a lot of shine, and I used the gloss on it. So this is something that I can do more, but you can feel there's a texture difference between what the watercolor paper would normally be. It's going to protect that. Just because it's on a panel, this isn't feasible to really frame under glass.
Right.
And we wanted it for the set. So this is at least keeping it where we can kind of gently, wipe it off
Right.
with a soft cloth. So you're going to be doing this. First, I'm going to do this so you can see how
Yep.
I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm going to set that over there just so it's kind of out of the way.
spray zone.
So that's going to be the Liquitex Soluvar. With this, I'm going to shake this real quick one more time just because we're going to do this. This is a satin archival varnish that Golden makes. That's their version of a mineral spirit base. Because this has always been matte, I don't want it to be gloss.
Right.
Just because I like it, but I don't like complete matte. All right.
Once you pop.
Now when you do these, you want to start the spray outside of the work, bring it across, stop, spray, back and forth.
Sweeping.
All right. And because of the way this is, I'm going to, well, no, because then it's going to be off the thing. Sorry. Oh. I don't like to be poked.
No. At least hit me in muscle and not fat.
Oh, well, sorry. All right. Are you ready?
Am I? Am I?
All right. 9 to 12 inches, right? Yep.
Did you already mess it up?
No, I kind of hit a little too hard. All right.
Whoa, that hits you real quick.
Yes.
Like we just applied it under
Yes.
the tongue.
All right. Now, but you can see that this is not a full coat. You can see there's some kind
How
of
are you breathing?
air in between. Because I've done this for mineral spirits for so long.
This
I
is
don't
why I
think I
stick to
notice anymore.
watercolor.
But see how that's there is a little bit of, when it first started, it sprayed. So probably what I should have done, spray it.
Yep. Spray it in the can.
Okay, before, or just on a rag or some paper to the side. So this would need to sit for 15 to 20 minutes before I can hit it again. And then I would kind of do the same thing, the one way, another way. You can go infinite numbers of times doing this, but then remember, if you want to remove the varnish,
You're making it harder.
yes, you're making it harder. So,
Alright, so
Yep.
have a little shake, and then so I don't.
yeah, that sprayer seems to work. Yep, that's fine. Good.
That's simple as that.
It's not that hard. Spray varnish is the easiest. Now, all right. It's not funny. This is why we're showing this, because it's pretty.
I can taste
All right.
it.
Now, if we were done with these, turn
We
them
are.
upside down. Spray. Not.
Right,
We're
clear
not going
the-
to do it in here. We can do that
clear the
outside.
chamber.
Clear it so that it doesn't. I think that's probably why that started, because this probably hadn't been.
Properly.
Yeah, we always use that. So, with a larger painting, the larger your work, the harder it is to do a paint on varnish. Okay, so that's when you probably want to look and consider
Sprays.
either something like if it's an oil, like the Gamvar, because that has a much longer open work time, and because you're scumbling it in, it's not going to show those brush marks. Okay, but with something that tacks up like the damar varnish, you really want to do a spray instead. Or if the work has a lot of peaks and valleys, tons of texture, brushing that on, it's going to level down into those valleys, be impossible to remove.
Okay.
So spray varnish has its place, and in a lot of instances, it's really the best thing for you. I feel so bad for everybody's in here going,
I'm waiting for them to come in.
I know. Yeah, it's pretty.
What are you doing in there?
Yeah, I know. It's
Art.
pretty obnoxious. Yeah, don't light a
It
cigarette.
stinks.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just the artwork.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's pretty much an overview on just basic varnishing. There are so many more out there that we're going to already have shown, even though we haven't,
Right.
because this is the after party that's filmed first.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, the only after party that's filmed before the live event
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
So
Because
it
that's
makes
how
us
we
unique.
roll.
Yeah, I like it.
We like to mess with time.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it works.
In fact, we filmed this in 2014.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about all the other types. Do your research. As an artist, it's your job, it's your due diligence to do your research on something before you mess it up.
Right.
So varnishing is one of those things that can highlight and enhance your work, so much so that it can, with the one that you did with the damar where the color just popped. I mean, that's a big deal. That makes work look beautiful right away. Done wrong,
Can really
train wreck.
Train wreck, yeah.
So
Train wreck.
varnish wisely.
Varnish with care.
Varnish with care. So, and follow me on
Yes, you
Facebook,
can
my artist
follow-
page,
Yeah, Amy Gardner Dean on Facebook,
or
host of-
Instagram.
or Instagram now. Look at you.
I know.
Host of our Jerry's Live, and since you're on our YouTube channel, if you want, you can check out my videos, the Artist Problem series, because I make a problem out of anything.
You can.
And you can follow me on Instagram at Mike Not Jerry, because I get confused.
Yeah.
Mike Not Jerry. But we'd love to stay and chat, but as you know, it's taco night, so we have to
Yeah.
go. But let's give him a hug.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Happy varnishing.
Who does that?
This guy.
This guy.